Welcome to Process Improvement 101. I hold this session about once a month for my process improvement for the people group, for the community to be able to come together and to learn more about process improvement, as well as to ask any questions. But I thought this week I'd go ahead and record it. So that way, if you're not able to make that session, you can still see the content and maybe you can come to us later on with some of those questions or in our Facebook group. So, Process Improvement 101. We're going to talk here about the basics. So I'll introduce you a little bit to myself. We'll talk a little bit about what is Lean, what is Six Sigma, go through some examples, and then we'll come back together. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and throw those in the comments. Now, my name is Amanda Zimmerman. I am a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, and I've been doing process improvement itself for about 15 years. I've actually had more experience in business than that, but for about the last 15 years, I've been doing process improvement exclusively. Now, I've had the opportunity to work all over the world in all kinds of different industries, mostly in non-manufacturing industries. And that's really given me a passion for seeing how we can apply these tools in different places in different contexts. First off, let's talk a little bit about what is a process. Now, a process is simply a series of actions, steps, and decisions taken to achieve a particular end. So, whether or not I'm going to the grocery store, maybe those different steps would be something like I leave my house, I get to the store, I grab my cart, I go find the different items that I need, I go to checkout, I bag my groceries, I come back to the car, I drive home, I put my groceries away, right? All of that I'm doing for some reason. I'm doing that so that I can eat, so that I have snacks, so that I have dinner that I can make for my family, right? So all of that is a process. Now, just because I haven't written it down doesn't mean it's not a process. So sometimes we think it must be documented to be a process, but it isn't. It's simply all those actions, all those steps, all the decisions that we do each and every day to achieve a particular end or a particular goal. Now, in an organization, that goal is usually centered around value, and value in the eyes of our customers is what we're talking about here. Sometimes the business has to put a lens on that to say, this is what we see customer value as. So this might be slightly different than maybe what you understand as customer value or what your customer understands as customer value. But what we're talking about with process improvement is improving all those steps, actions, and decisions to achieve that end, making improvements in that system. Now, there's two levers that we're going to pull, or two things that we're going to see change as we implement process improvements. We're either going to make processes more efficient or we're going to make processes more effective. Now, efficient processes, making them more efficient, means that we're utilizing the fewest resources possible to achieve value. Effective, on the other hand, is the ability to hit that target or that goal, that value for our client over and over again to hit that right on the head. So if I think about the grocery store, I can make that process more efficient. Maybe I order my groceries online, I go to the grocery store, they put it straight into my car, and I'm able to drive away. So now I've taken that to the fewest steps that I can, to use the fewest amount of resources that I can to achieve my goal. Let's think about effective. What if I get all of these groceries, but I forget the key ingredients to the recipe that I want to make? Then I wasn't very effective at going to the grocery store and getting what I needed. So what we're doing when we apply process improvement is we're making our processes more efficient or more effective. Now, we talked about that value in the eyes of the customer. Sometimes the business sees that value differently, right? So sometimes becoming more effective means getting more clarity on what value is to your customers or your clients. There are a ton of frameworks and methodologies. You can see here, I use process improvement quite often. That's a bit of a blanket term. Continuous improvement or continual improvement might be a little bit more accurate for what I'm focused on. Lean Six Sigma is something that you're going to hear a lot. Lean is its own methodology that grew out of Toyota, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Six Sigma is its own methodology, and putting those together just made sense. So now they're Lean Six Sigma quite often. Sometimes they're on their own. So it's normal to hear those differently. We have other things that have grown out of Lean, such as Kata. Agile uses a lot of Lean principles. So you're going to hear a lot of these buzzwords all over the place. What I think is really important is that these tools all have something more in common. They all have more in common than they have different. So when you're thinking about all of these different tools and which of them apply to you, which of them don't apply to you, maybe you know one and you say, "Oh, I know root cause analysis really well, but continuous improvement, I don't know anything about continuous improvement." That's not true. That's not true at all. So what I hope that you do is you do understand that even if you haven't used these tools, you've probably used these tools. So if you think you haven't, you have. And as we go through some of the examples, I'm sure you'll say, "I have done that." So you'll be surprised at how much of this you may actually know. There's a lot of buzzwords, a lot of consultants out there trying to make it flashy and fun, all kinds of new things coming out. So those things get rebranded, new names. But if you look at a lot of the methodologies and the things that we're using today, you'll find a lot more similarities than differences. What are the benefits of process improvement? Why do organizations decide to take this on? Well, process improvement is actually being used by all of the Fortune 500 companies, whether they brand it that way or not. If you look within the way that they're structured and the tools that they're using, you can see elements of Lean, Six Sigma, process improvement, continuous improvement within that. So these process improvement tools, they're vital for organizations to become more efficient and more effective. What we're really talking about is just really understanding how processes work and unlocking the value in those processes. Now, new tools have come on the market like AI that help us to unlock that value faster or differently, but there is still a place for process improvement. Within process improvement, we are generally looking at that incremental change. Now, in the last few years, we've had a lot of innovative change. Now, that's great, and that's going to continue to come along. But in the background, we want to make sure each and every day we're trying to make our processes a little bit better. That's going to inform those innovations. That's going to spark ideas of those innovations. And so businesses bring in process improvement programs so that they can improve quality, improve efficiency, improve customer value or customer satisfaction. It can also really boost morale for employees that maybe felt very distant from being able to control the work that they're doing every day, to find out that they can actually make improvements to those processes that make their jobs easier. Now, the process maturity model that I have here is a 5-step model. And when we look at organizations, we see that when they start, they're quite ad hoc. We're doing everything as fast as we can to meet that customer value. We may or may not know what value is. If you think maybe of the first time you went to a grocery store as an adult, did you know all the right things to buy? Did you get distracted by things, right? So at that point, maybe you're kind of all over the place, or maybe you have a really long list that just doesn't even make sense for your budget, right? So you're just making up things as you go along. But then we move on to managed. So in a managed space, now we're getting more of an awareness as an organization. We might have more of an awareness of continuous improvement, or we've heard the word, we've heard some of the ways that we can improve. But in this space, businesses are usually looking at projects versus just trying to get everything done. Now they're starting to identify specific projects that they want to work on improving, but they're still in a very reactive mode. And then we move on to this place of definition, of defining more of our processes, of documenting more of our processes, of getting an idea of those standards that we have as an organization and making sure that we have those procedures in place. And so in this one, what we see is that we're starting to get more aligned to effectiveness, right? But we're still maybe not all efficient. So we understand more of what customer value is or what the purpose of our processes is, but we may not be doing all of those processes effectively or connecting to everybody down the line. And then we move from this defined stage into a measured stage. So now rather than just having these processes or procedures in place, now we're actually talking about what are our goals? How do we measure that? How are these processes running? Are they running effectively and efficiently? So we're starting to develop some of those targets and goals. We're getting more aligned in terms of what customer value is or what our target is. And then we moved into this optimized place. And in an optimized maturity model, what we would see is that our processes now are being more automated, right? We're empowering our employees to make improvements. We have predictable operations. Not only have we set targets, but when we meet those targets, we adjust them, right? So this optimized place is where we want to go in our process maturity. So if you're looking for kind of what is that pathway for your organization, where could they go? This is what we want to do. We want to move towards this optimized state. Now, you might notice as an organization, it's unlikely all of our processes are going to get to that optimized state. Filling up the coffee maker or making sure that the break room has all of the knives and forks and things that it needs, that might not be something that we want to perfect, right? Perfection can be expensive. So what we'll see is maybe some of the departments or critical processes are really at this point that they are running perfectly and efficiently, whereas other parts of the organization still have opportunity. And so, thinking of that process maturity model, we can look at that against process improvement. And as we gain maturity in process improvement, we're going to move up these different steps. So, these tools really enable us to do that. And so, the two tool sets or two methodologies that are most commonly used are Lean and Six Sigma. Now, lean tools, lean methodology is all about enhancing value. Now, sometimes it's really hard to see that value. So, we talk more about eliminating waste. So, we enhance value by eliminating waste in our processes. And usually, what we'll see is we'll see the average change of our data. If we're looking at our data, we'll see maybe that average change. And here, what we're doing is simplifying our processes. And then in Six Sigma, what we're doing is we're increasing consistency so that we're hitting that same target every time. We're eliminating variation. And you can see here on this graph, we're going from a standard deviation where our data is maybe all over the place to really, really tight. Now, it's much easier to change your average than it is to change your standard deviation. In Six Sigma, we're perfecting our processes. We're making sure that they run absolutely smoothly. So, what is lean? Lean is all about maximizing customer value by eliminating waste. Now, this methodology came to us from Toyota. It was adopted by Toyota and adjusted by Toyota from Ford. So Henry Ford, started the assembly line, and Toyota picked that up, and they had to do more with less after World War II, or they weren't going to survive. And so what they did is they took those tools from the assembly line, from the things that Ford had learned, and they said, we don't just need to make a lot of products the same way over and over again. They said, now we actually need to be flexible to customer demand and make those products over and over again, right? So they designed this to be a very flexible and agile system, a methodology that really focuses on customer value and being flexible to changes in customer value, which is why you've seen software development pick up that word agile, right? That indication of being flexible to those changes in our customers' demand. And so, no matter where you're at in the world, no matter what process you're doing, like the grocery store example, we're all using process improvement. We're all using these different tools. We just maybe don't know the name of them. So, you can see even at the grocery store, maybe there's times that you've made that more efficient that you wouldn't say that you used lean. But in fact, if you go back, now you have maybe a common language that you can use with your business to talk about these different tools. And one of the easiest tools that we can pick up from our lean tool set is downtime. So, this is just an acronym for waste that we can identify within our organization or at home, right? Or when we go to that grocery store. So, defects, overproduction, waiting, not using people well, transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. Now, if you've ever eliminated waiting time, so maybe you had something where you were waiting in a line and you went to a shorter line. Look at that. You've used lean. You're already there, right? So waiting is one of the wastes that we look for. Inventory. Maybe you have too many things. You have too many products, too many finished materials, and you want to reduce that inventory. So you might do a project to do that. Motion is all about you moving around, right? So my dad, he used to barbecue, and the barbecue was obviously outside. We lived in a place that was hot, the air conditioning was on, and he would have to go through this sliding glass door. And if anybody ever left the sliding glass door open, it was the end, right? It was the end of the world. So this motion of going to the kitchen and going through the living room and the sliding glass door and then closing it and then going out there and going to the barbecue was something that I saw a lot. So if we could reduce the number of times that he had to move between that, or the number of times that people were going in and out of the house to reduce the amount of air conditioning that might get out, right? So all of those would be something that could help at a household. Now, at a business, it's the same way. I've seen people walk miles every week for one process and not even realize it. One person we calculated, I think he was walking something like 15 miles a week. And we said, if we eliminate this motion in your process, you're going to have to start, working out outside of work, because this is a lot of exercise that you're getting every week, right? So these are things that we can look for starting today to really eliminate waste within our work. The other methodology is Six Sigma. Now, Six Sigma is a bit confusing because we talk about it as a framework and we talk about it as a statistical measure. So, as a framework, this really developed from Motorola, from Honeywell, and then Motorola, and then GM picked it up. And GM told everybody they saved billions of dollars, and everybody started picking it up and running with it. And so, really, as a framework, it's a set of management techniques intended to improve business processes by greatly reducing the probability that an error or a defect will occur. And this is where we're really going to be focused here, is that defect. We want to reduce the number of defects. And so, statistically, Sigma, we're talking about standard deviation. So, this is really a measure of quality when we're talking about Six Sigma. Now, Six Sigma itself is a reference to that statistical measure, and it's the equivalent of having 3.4 defects per million opportunities. So if you ran your process if you ran your process a million times, only 3.4 of those would be defects. And so in lean, what we're doing is we're really coming in kind of, if you are a paleontologist or an archaeologist, let's say, when you get to the place that you're going to be digging out those dinosaur bones, you're going to look out across a big dirt field, right? And you won't be able to see those bones, most likely, that are in the dirt, that value to you. Sometimes you actually have to come in with heavy equipment or shovels to actually pick up that dirt and move it out of the way. But then once you see those dinosaur bones, now you've got to get the brushes out. And you're going to take those brushes out and you're just going to delicately get rid of all that dirt, right? And that's Six Sigma. So in lean, we're in there with the heavy equipment. We're getting all the waste out, getting things out of the way so that we can see what value is. But once we can see what value is and we're happy with that, now we want to perfect that. We want to make sure every time the customer gets our product, it is perfect. And so Six Sigma is really coming in there with the brush and just perfecting it and making it better and better. Now, Six Sigma does use a structured problem-solving tool of Demic. In lean, we may use A3. You may have heard of others like 8D or Kata. All of them again, have more in common than different. So if you've heard of one, if you're great at one, fantastic. It's going to be easy for you to look at the others and start to use those. So Demic is simply define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And so in define, we're really going to understand what is the problem we're solving. Then we're going to go out and get that data to understand that current state and measure. Then in analyze, we're going to say, what are the root causes? So we've got those customer specification limits up on that graph there. And we're saying, what are defects and what are not defects? And for those items that are defects, why are they defects? Then we're going to identify improvements that address those reasons why those defects are happening. Now, we aren't just going to stop there. We're not just going to give a list of recommendations. We're going to actually go out and improve it. We're actually going to implement those improvements, and we're going to validate that those improvements had the impact on the data that we wanted to see. If we did get that improvement that we wanted to see, our defects are lower, then we're going to put controls in place. So if for some reason that defect ever started to come back, we're going to identify that quickly and address it. Now, if you were part of the live session, we would go ahead and watch this video. It's a great video that shows a process improvement project in action. It's more lean focused and it's Toyota. I'll put it in the chat or in the discussion, in the description, so that you can go ahead and watch it later. But what I really like about this video is that it highlights the people side. And so when we're talking about process improvement, it's easy to get focused on the data. It's easy to get focused on what's up on the board or the process map. But really, the transformation that we're looking for is in the people. They are going to unlock the best ideas for you. And they're going to be so much happier when they feel empowered to make improvements to their own work. They're also the people that are going to sustain these processes. So you need their participation and support. So take a look at this video, see a project in action, and also really see how it impacts the people that were involved in the project. It's why I do continuous improvement or process improvement, is to make those lives better, give people hope that things can change. So if you're new to process improvement, my advice to you is first, go out and use some of these tools. Go look up downtime and go do a waste walk. Go walk around your work and look for those different wastes at your business. So it's a really easy way for you to go out and see that waste. Go take a class, right? So there's a lot of green belt certification is a popular one. White belt is usually the best to start with. So feel free to go ahead and start with that white belt course. It's going to give you an idea of whether or not you want to go on. Now, those are kind of lean Six Sigma or Six Sigma heavy. If you find a lean course, that's a fantastic opportunity as well. I actually think we lean too heavily on Six Sigma when often lean would be good enough. So really encourage you to go ahead and look for those lean classes as well. And then networking, meet others, go online, see we have events with process improvement for the people. So feel free to join one of our events like the PI 101 or our mentor mentee meetup, which we're starting next week. So feel free to join some of those events and meet other people. They're going to really help you understand how to apply the tools in your unique situation. No matter how many places I go to, every place has their own unique situation that they're applying the tools to. So go meet other people, go ask questions, go find out more. And if you'd like, join our process improvement group on Facebook. That's a great place to ask questions. We also offer interview prep sessions. We have a Udemy course, and then there's also a course on process improvement at Portland State University that I teach, and is a fantastic program that is not belt focused, but more lean focused. So really appreciate you watching today and learning more about process improvement. I'd love to chat with you more, so feel free to message me or connect, and I'll leave that information in the description as well. Have a great day. Thank you.